Kia ora e te iwi, nau mai ki Central News. E whakanoia i te wiki o te reo Māori. Ko Hilary Entwistle-Ho me ngā karere o te wā. The discovery of more Mediterranean fanworm in both Tauranga marinas could herald the end of New Zealand's carefree coastal boating culture. A single fanworm was first discovered in Pilot Bay in 2013, and during a follow-up in June, divers found another 2 fanworms, one at Sulphur Point Marina and one at Tauranga Bridge Marina. Bay Plenty Regional Council General Manager Natural Resource Operations Warwick Murray says the further search since then has found 8 fanworms at the Sulphur Point Marina and 6 more at the Bridge Marina. Recreational boating is seen as a major mover for the fanworm, which has now been detected in Littleton Port, the wider Waitemata Harbour, in Auckland and in Whangarei Harbour. After an investigation found 8 illegal workers in the kiwi fruit industry in the Bay of Plenty, a working group has been established to improve employment compliance. The Ministry for Business, Innovation and Employment has issued 22 improvement notices for 39 minimum employment standard breaches. New Zealand Kiwi Fruit Growers Incorporated CEO Mike Chapman says the Industry Compliance Strategy Working Group was established in May following the MBIE operation with Immigration New Zealand.
What it does is it creates one system for the whole industry where people can have an assurance that what they get in terms of the identity card from the worker shows that worker can legally work in this country. And it also enables us to integrate more Kiwis into the workforce by giving us the ability to ensure that there are no illegal workers and that everyone who is employed is legal, or particularly a Kiwi.
The Bay of Plenty men's 2014 Sevens team have their new coaches. Peter Woods as head coach and Matua Parkinson as assistant coach. Both men come with impressive resumes for the job. Peter coached the Bay of Plenty Sevens team in 2001 and then 2008 to 2011. Matua is the current coach of the Rangataua Club Sevens team, who are the current New Zealand Club Sevens champs. Bay Plenty Rugby Union CEO Mike Rogers says both Peter and Matua have a proven record of success, and they're confident this will translate to a successful Bay Plenty men's Sevens program. St John has been voted the most trusted charity in the highly competitive and respected Reader's Digest Most Trusted Brands Awards. In a double endorsement, paramedics also came second in the Most Trusted Professions category of the annual awards, judged by New Zealanders. Chief Executive Peter Bradley says the charity is very humbled to receive such strong recognition of the vital emergency and community work their people perform by the very public they serve. New Zealand Pork signed the deed for the government industry agreement for biosecurity readiness and response at the industry's 2014 conference yesterday. The GIA deed sets the legal framework for New Zealand Pork's participation with MPI in regard to readiness activities for its priority biosecurity risks. It also gives the industry an equal voice in decisions in the event of an exotic disease incursion. New Zealand Pork is the first animal-based industry to enter into a GIA and the second industry overall behind Kiwifruit Vine Health. Now for our coastal forecast, west coast, Raglan, southwest 20 knots developing on Thursday. Your high tide is at 8:13 a.m. East Coast, Bay of Plenty, southwest 20 knots, and it will be mostly fine out there. Your high tide is at 5:28 in the evening. Just ahead, te reo o te wiki, some words to use in everyday life. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. The Te Ahurangi Hui was held recently in Rotorua by the Bay of Plenty Regional Council to focus on Māori in business, and with over 40% of land in the Bay under Māori ownership, there was a lot of talk about utilising land. I spoke with the Council's Fiona McTavish about some of the speakers, including Patrick McGarvey.
He spoke about what tēnā rangatanga means to him in terms of his tikanga and his reo and his whānau. And he also talked about the tūhoe redress that's recently been legislated for, and just other people learnt a lot from what tūhoe have been through, and they could apply it to their own treaty settlements coming up.
What's cultural permanency?
It means about being there now and in the future, and tūhoe talk about having a 40, 50 year horizon and doing things now for future generations. So they talk about making change now for their mokopuna, so that the grandchildren will benefit from that.
Jack Thatcher also spoke. What were some of his interesting points?
Jack is a master navigator, and he's only one of a few in New Zealand. He talked about ocean voyaging and how that is important to re-establishing connections in Polynesia, but also in terms of growing Māori identity. He was an amazing speaker and took many people who'd never been sailing before around many of the Pacific Island nations, and learning about what it was to be Māori, but also connecting with other cultures.
And how does that navigation process help people learn how to be Māori?
In terms of how they sail and going back to traditional means and how they work together, and the importance of language in that and tikanga. It sounded really, really dangerous and exciting.
Moana Maniapoto also spoke, and she's a businesswoman. She spoke about some of her experiences. What were some points she made?
So she talked about her as an individual and about her as in her business. It's a tough industry, and how she survived through understanding who she is and her Māori identity, and how she is growing people around her in terms of her band, and just what it was like to confront Māori issues and social issues through the music industry.
Bay of Connections recently launched the Bay of Plenty Māori Economic Development Strategy. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, so in the Bay of Plenty we have a huge potential for the Māori economy, but we also have statistics like that Māori families earn $114 less a week than non-Māori families. So there is a real need to grow that economy, but also the prosperity of Māori. It's arranged a number of projects, and they include things like improving financial literacy at the whānau level, workforce and skills development, improving governance and management capability in Māori businesses, and also about investment opportunities. It is one of the Bay of Connections strategies. We have a few now, and they are led by industry, and they're about making change in industry. And this one's about Māori making change for Māori.
Te wiki o te reo Māori is now halfway through, being Wednesday. The Māori Party last week talked about making the language compulsory in schools, which sparked a bit of debate around the country.
Oh, for fear of sounding like a politician, I think maybe. There's probably a two-tier answer to that question. I think personally, I would love to see te reo Māori made compulsory in schools. It's just as important in New Zealand as algebra, and just as important as PE and cross country. If I'm forced to run 9 laps of the lake, why am I not forced to learn how to speak te reo Māori? That's a personal whakaaro. And I think, if we look at it in 50 years' time, ask yourself whether or not te reo Māori is going to be as prominent as it is today. And the answer is probably no, because of the resurgence or maybe the emergence rather, of technology. We have to utilise these things to enhance and revitalise our language. And so, should it be compulsory in school? I think so. Will it be compulsory in school? I doubt it. I don't think New Zealand's ready to make te reo Māori compulsory in school, and you have to be wary of the gloss politicians and candidates are putting on this kaupapa. Happens every 3 years. Do they actually genuinely care about making it compulsory in school? No. Is it going to win them some votes? Probably. Is it important that we have this discussion? Absolutely.
Is te reo Māori for all New Zealanders or just Māori?
Te reo Māori is for everyone, not just in New Zealand. Te reo Māori is for everyone all around the world. This is what I mean. This is what makes New Zealand different, is that we have this taonga to share. Nothing excites me more than hearing Pākehā people speak te reo Māori. It actually embarrasses me because I don't have a tangible grasp on conversation of te reo. It encourages me to actually, pull my finger out and actually, get on with my reo journey. Te reo Māori is New Zealand's gift. It's our tangata whenua's gift to the world. So, and that's how I see it. We do it through the haka. We do it through our national anthem. We do it through some of the songs that everybody knows, a Māori song. Everybody knows, you know, the first at least 3 actions to the haka. They make the rest up, but that's fine. Ko te mea nui, ko te kaupapa. But no, absolutely, I think, you know, Te Reo Māori is for everybody. It's the slogan for Māori TV, Mā Te Reo, or sorry, Mā Tātou is for everybody. So.
Can you teach us some basic greetings?
Absolutely, I think that'd be great. And also, I've brought in a friend of mine from Moana Radio, Atireta. Atireta is going to help me. We're just going to have a basic conversation.
Yes.
And we'll run parallel the English to what we're saying in Te Reo, so whānau at home can take notes and they can be ready for Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori. So I'll start with, hi, how are you? Or, kia ora, e hoa, kei te pihi a koe.
Tēnā koe, Kari. Kia ora, mate. Kei te rawi aho, I'm awesome.
Awesome, cool.
Aye.
Well, ka mai te wihi.
Aye.
Aye.
What are some of your favourite words to use in everyday life?
I could give you some of my favourites. Kai, which is food. Hakinakina means sports. Right? Nice. How's that? You can write that one. Wahine Atahua, or beautiful woman.
So what was that one again?
Wahine Atahua. Okay, yeah. Or my favourite one. Te Reo Irirangi o Tauranga Moana. Moana Radio, my favourite radio station. Or Wairiki, the electorate that I'm standing in, that you should all vote for me at the general election, September 20.
And Atireta, how about you?
Yeah, well, he's pretty much taken them all. But yeah, mine are kai, yeah, food. Mahi, I love coming to mahi, which is work.
Awesome.
And whānau, obviously, family, yes, need whānau. And yeah, coming to work in my motoka or my car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, kia ora.
Yeah, kia ora, kia ora. And one for you though, Hills, just quickly. Te Kaya, or the news. My favourite news, Central News.
To find out the word of the week, visit Te Taura Whiri i Te Reo Māori's website, the Māori Language Commission, kōrero.maori.nz. They also have information on Te Reo courses. Coming up on the program, the 150 years of Hamilton. Welcome back to Central News. It's a year of celebration for Hamilton City as it reaches the milestone birthday of 150 years. Added to this is the 50th birthday of University of Waikato and 90 years since Wintec opened its doors. Anne-Marie spoke with Julie Hardacre, Mayor of Hamilton, to find out more about the upcoming celebrations and a reunion recently held focusing on civil leadership over the decades.
Look, this was an idea we came up with, and it was an absolutely wonderful night, I have to say. So we invited all of the people that we could locate who had been on the council, mayors and councillors, and we had a great turnout, and it was just a wonderful, it was like a high school reunion in some ways. So that can be good and bad, but look, it was all good. And many people that came, this was the first time they'd caught up with colleagues that they had been on the council with, you know, decades ago. So a lot of fun, and it was very light-hearted and very informal. But we've now displayed all of our pictures from our photographs from our councils of the past. So those are now displayed in the public civic area. So a lot of fun looking at those and talking about and reminiscing about the old days. I learnt a lot about how decisions were made a few decades ago, and they certainly were made a lot quicker and with less consultation than you would do today, that's for sure. And some interesting and funny stories from the past. And then we brought out the original mayoral chair that Mayor Bond had commissioned. We had a mayor, James Bond. And that chair was on display, Captain Hamilton's sword. We had the first minute book from the first meeting of the Borough Council, and some wonderful images as well. So, and then we got, of course, the reunion photo, which was lovely and a lovely memento. Great night, great night.
In honour of the 150th celebrations, you've announced a new civic award. Tell me about Hamiltonian of the Year.
So we've decided that in commemoration of our 150th and going forward that we would have each year an award for Hamiltonian of the Year. So this is for, you know, a person who's contributed to the city, you know, broadly and right across the spectrum. So these are people that have, you know, done great community things, or have shown leadership in business, or within their own community or sector. So it's, you know, that all-round person that people in the street would know about, that would recognise that they've made an outstanding contribution to the way our city's developed and the history of our city and crafted, I guess, and influenced the way it is today. So, we're working on who that might be, and we're intending to announce and award that on our first formal function for the 150th, which will be on our weekend in August. And I'm looking forward to that. So a lot of work going on at the moment about who that might be, but pretty exciting.
And you've got a big weekend coming up in August with the official celebrations.
Big weekend. So we're having a full-on weekend that weekend because we've got a ball which we're having in conjunction with Wintec and the university, who are also celebrating milestones, of course. And then on the Sunday we've got our official formal recognition of the 150th year. So that's going to start the day with we're going to be on the Wintec Marae, and that'll be a fantastic Maori event to recognise the history of Maori in this region, long before, of course, European set foot. And there's a wonderful and rich history of Maori involvement in Kirikiriroa and how plentiful it was from a food perspective, which is interesting because today, of course, that's where we derive our success economically. So then the day will be formal speeches and singing and all the formalities that you would expect, for the official recognition. But I think, it's a public event and it's a chance for people to reflect on our 150 years and before that, and also to look to the future. What's our next 150 years going to be like as a city? We are growing fast. We are a major player in New Zealand's economy, and we've got a great lifestyle here. So I think the next decade and beyond is going to really define our city, and it's a chance to talk about that as well. So that's a public day, open for everyone to come along, and I do hope that lots of people come. Middle of winter, but that's okay because it's about recognising our past and celebrating our future.
Wisely, you've deferred the birthday party till summer. Tell me about what's happening in November.
Look, big birthday party. So just think birthday party, and I'm sure that'll come to mind for everyone. So, it's a lot of planning going on for that at the moment, but that's about families, because our city is about families. It's about being together and, having a great time. So we're going to be shutting down Victoria Street, and we're going to have things on the river and lots of entertainment and a birthday cake, of course, the big birthday cake. At that time also, Riff Raff is celebrating its 10th birthday, and I know that they are working hard on getting together, the Guinness Book of Records time warp. So I am hoping that we get I think you've got to have 1,500 people, all dressed in the garb, have got for it to be official.
Are you a time warper?
Well, it could be tricky, couldn't it? But I guess I'm going to have to be roped in. But look, lots of fun, and there'll be, a bit of formality, I guess, with the cutting of the cake. But it's about a party to celebrate who we are, our identity, and what the future might be.
What do you think that future might be?
Look, I think Hamilton is genuinely at the crossroads of our evolution as a city. We are economically very strong, and the growth that's going on in this region and in the city is huge, absolutely huge. The population predictions are massive for us, but what's good is we continue to maintain our youthful population, and that's about families and about the future, young people and our families. So look, I think it's all good for Hamilton, the future, actually, and I think our time is coming. This next decade, I think, is going to define us as a city, and I'm hoping that everyone's up for the task.
Just ahead, the steamers and your weather for tomorrow. Welcome to Central News. The Bay of Plenty steamers have been getting out and about lately, meeting their fans. Last week they were at Bay Fair for the school holidays, getting some tips from some younger fans. I spoke with halfback Te Ahi Toma.
T, how are you preparing for the steamers? This is the first season you're playing for the steamers.
Yeah.
So how are you preparing? And you obviously want to win the premiership.
Yeah.
How are you preparing?
Well, I'm preparing. I think as a team we're preparing well. I think we're gelling. All the boys are gelling together. We've been going through the hard yards with Keith Roberts at the moment, and it's been great, good trainings. Yeah.
I've heard a little bit about this Keith Roberts and how he's actually pushes you guys a little bit hard.
Yeah, he does quite a bit, actually quite a lot. Say one of the trainings where we were down Opo is that we're actually doing this pyramid run where we would run for age 30 to an hour non-stop, no rest, and it was just intense, but it's good. Money in the bank, as he says. Yeah.
And so I suppose if you guys win the premiership, you'll be thanking him?
I'm sure we'll be thanking a lot of people. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he brings something different, but I think as a team, we all bring something different. Like, say, I bring energy into the team. So yeah.
Speaking of you bringing something different, you're actually in the sevens team as well, which is, I mean, you guys get put through some paces by Titch. I mean, how are you finding that training?
Yeah, that was really immense training. I mean, that's the training that he put us through is just above what Keith Roberts does. So yeah, he does non-stop, but he pushes ourselves over that limit. So we just got to push on and keep going. So yeah, it's been good.
Do you ever find yourself struggling trying to juggle that training between sevens and the steamers and being in both teams?
No, I think it's good for me because what it does is I go through two things: preparation and recovery. One being preparation, making sure that everything that I have is good for my training. So getting all my stuff ready the night before. And for recovery, just making sure that I have the right nutrients and fluids to help with my recovery post.
Yeah, Titch is pretty hard on those nutrition things, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I mean, like, you see the odd pie here and there, but you got to say no. You got to say no.
Well, does Keith Roberts let you guys have pies?
No, I wouldn't have a clue. We haven't asked that question, but even though our sponsor's Back Shack, I think we're allowed a good old pie here and there.
Yeah, I think a pie every now and then won't hurt the premiership.
Surely.
No.
To follow the Bay of Plenty Steamers and their upcoming games, visit boprugby.co.nz. Now for the weather for Opopo. Hamilton, your Thursday is looking like it will start out mostly fine with morning frost and then a few showers later on in the day. Your expected high is 13 and an overnight low of 1. The rest of the Waikato fine with morning frosts, then a few showers spreading from the west with southwesterlies developing. Paeroa, your expected high is 14 and an overnight low of 4. Matamata 12 and 4, Te Awamutu 13 and 1, and Tokoroa 12 and 0. Tauranga fine with morning frost and southwest breeze, expected high of 14 and an overnight low of 4 for you. The rest of the Bay of Plenty fine with morning frosts and southwesterlies. Te Puke, your expected high is 13 and an overnight low of 4. That is Central News for today. We will be following the general election, so if there is something you think is important to your electorate, let us know. You can email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz or like us on Facebook. Join me again tomorrow night for more stories from the Bay of Plenty and the Waikato. I'm Hilary Mentuaso. I hope you have a lovely evening.
Of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.